Here we go. Let's get into Black Facts. Welcome to another episode of Black Facts. I'm your host, Michelle Christine, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about Black men's health in honor of Father's Day and Men's Health Week. I'd like to welcome our special guests, Mr. Lamont Briscoe and Mr. Rodney Watson. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Black Facts. I'd like to welcome my guests today, Mr. Travis Briscoe and Mr. Rodney Watson. We're going to be talking and having a conversation about Black men's health. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to get into it. Can you guys just introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about who you are?
Well, my name is Travis Briscoe. I'm an educator. I work in San Bernardino at a continuation high school. I've been doing it for almost 20 years this next year. So yeah, I have a degree in business and got a master's in education, and then I got another master in counseling. So now I'm counseling students at my school. So it's great. I love it.
Good.
And I'm really happy to be here. Yeah.
Good. Hey, thanks for having me on the show. I do appreciate that. My name is Rodney Watson. I am a certified health coach, and I'm also a truck driver as well. I came from the corporate world, but landed in the trucking industry. So I've been on this health journey for about 3 years now, and I'm feeling great, feeling good. Again, I'm just glad to be on the show.
Good. Okay. Well, let's get into it then. You both look really well, I must say. So talk to me. Do you have any, or did you have any health challenges that, kind of cause you to say, I need to take a moment and reassess, what I'm eating, what I'm doing, and turn things around? Like, what caused you to really kind of start focusing on your health?
Well, for me, it was a thing called a mirror. Mirrors, they just tell you the truth about yourself. Just can't get around that. And I would look in the mirror and I see my big stomach, and I kept saying, I have to do something about this. And then I met up with some friends who knew me way back in the day, and they said, oh, Rodney, man, I wouldn't have even recognized you. And then I remember taking a picture with my son, and I'm normally behind the camera. When you're a dad, you take pictures of kids behind the camera. I was in front of the camera this time, and I saw myself. I said, oh, I need to make a change. And then a couple of other people voiced, they said, Rodney, I'm concerned about what I see. They saw my stomach. So I said, you know what? It's time to make a change. And I just, I went for it. A friend of mine was giving out, she had this weight loss program. And I said, I want to join it. We had gotten back acquainted. She lives over in England. And her and her husband had this program. And she said, well, this is for women. But since you're over in America and I'm over here in United Kingdom, there's no problem. So we did that. I went on a program. I started learning about the different laws of health. I started learning about what foods I should eat. And I actually learned I was addicted to sugar.
I think most of us are.
Oh, man. So I do have a cheat day because, my kids like to hang out. So I do stuff with them. But that's how I just basically started. I started eating differently. And I decided I would not go on a diet, that I would just make a lifestyle change and something that was sustainable and something I can do on an ongoing basis without having that yo-yo type diet. And that's kind of how it felt for me.
Okay.
Well, mine is, and I think it's excellent because mine is quite a bit different than Rodney's in that it's the same in that I looked in the mirror and the mirror told me some things that I didn't want to hear or didn't want to see. And I think for me, for most men, it starts around 30 or in your mid 30s when your body starts to change. And I started to see some things, but the good thing, I was in the military still in the reserve. So I was able to still be active. But once that ended, that activity started to decrease. And so then I started to balloon, and binge and so on and so forth. And before you knew it, I was 392 pounds. Wow. And I wasn't getting any sleep. I was seeing every hour on the hour. You know, I had sleep apnea, my ankles were swelling, my blood pressure was through the roof. All the signs were there telling me, listen, you got to do something. And I did the diets and I tried to eat differently. But once you get that big, it's tough. It's really, really tough. So I took a drastic measure and I got the gastric bypass.
Okay.
And my fraternity brother had done it, and he was he was as big as I was, and he got it done and slimmed down really, really, you know, a lot, drastically. And I said, well, you know what, I got to do it. I got to do it. I was a little nervous about it, and it was a journey in and of itself.
Right.
But yeah, I got through it, and people were telling me, hey, if you do this, you won't regret it, and I don't. You know, I can't eat much. I can eat a lot more than I used to when I first started. Your stomach is about the size of an egg when you just get done, and so I dropped a lot. I was on fluids, you know, liquid diet for a long time, you know, because I couldn't hold anything down. It was just too much. And now I still can, even though I can eat more, I'm still limited. I'll get really, really sick and need to go lay down, or, you know, worse. So it pretty much makes you adhere to some type of discipline, because your body will really, really put you in a sling if you don't. So.
Wow. And you both said that, you know, it needed to be sustainable. I kind of heard that from both of you, you know, that was that the theme for you both, that kind of decided which path you were going to take on your health journey? Or
Yeah, for me, when I say sustainable, sometimes I practice intermittent fasting, but you can't do that long term because your body will start to adapt. And also, whenever you're eating at a caloric deficit, which I started to do, again, your body will adapt. So you do have to change those things. And so even eating, like I said, a caloric deficit, every once in a while, I have to take a week off and just eat at my maintenance weight or maybe a little above, and to make sure that my body will continue to change. And I started to work out because when I was training to be a certified health coach, I started to learn that you know, muscle doesn't replace fat, and fat doesn't turn into muscle, you know, and muscle burns more calories than fat. So the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn. And even when you do a good workout, you go to sleep at night, you're still burning calories because you're gaining muscle. So I with my gym regimen, uh, my diet regimen, and then I started to eat differently. So I mean, so you have the different ones, and also sleep is important too. And I wasn't getting enough sleep, so I learned that you could do all the other things right, but if your sleep isn't right, you know. So, and just one more thing on the low fat diet thing, I did try. You know, I understand what Lamont went through. You know, different fads. They say, oh, take this little gummy, what's that? A vinegar thing, and take that little pill over there, and you do those things. And I just learned there's no silver bullet when it comes to weight loss, and it comes to your health. There's no one thing that's going to change your diet. There's a number of things, and we're all different. So I can't prescribe a diet for Lamont. He can't prescribe one for me. We all have to find out how our body reacts to certain foods. So my kale friends out there who like kale, I can't do kale because kale bloats me. So
Yeah.
so there are some things you have to do. So again, with my journey, I tried to take a holistic approach, an overall approach, something I can do and monitor that was easy. And, you know, if I see a piece of chocolate cake, which I love, I'll eat it. You know, I'm not going to eat it every day.
right,
I'll eat it, you know, once a month or once every 2 weeks, depends, you know, but, you know, I'm not
in
going to
moderation.
do anything. Yeah, in moderation.
Well,
That's the key.
I like this because I'm hearing two different perspectives. So, Roddy, you took the holistic approach, and then Travis, you were like, okay, I need to do something, you know, kind of drastic. Most people would think is, you know, drastic measure. Like, I need to have a surgery that's going to help me, you know, help me on this, you know, this journey. So, talk to me a little bit more about, you know, your decision to do that, because what was it? Because you obviously were seeing, that you were eating not unhealthily, maybe not being very mobile. And like you said, you were having sleep apnea and different things were happening. But what was the thing that you were like, okay, I need to make a decision. I need to make this decision for me so that I can live healthier and live longer?
Well, I think the decision really for me was, I started thinking about my daughter, and that, my father had passed not that long ago, prior to me getting the operation and the surgery. And so I just, when you start to get a certain age, you're really faced with your mortality, I guess, and you start to think about things differently. And I really started to think about, am I going to be around for my daughter and my grandkids, right? And so I started thinking like that. And then I went, and I know we'll talk about this in a minute, but went to the doctor, one of my checkups and stuff like that, and he asked me, do I think you'll be a good candidate for, right? Because it was getting there. But I will say one thing that I think we do have in common. I think it is something that we all need to think about when we're taking this journey, and that is being active. The
Yes,
one thing is, no matter what, whether you're doing the holistic approach or you're getting the surgery done or whatever, you still have to be active. And that's not just for your physical health, it's also for your mental health. And I think because diet and weight loss and the whole journey is also a mental issue, as
absolutely.
well as a physical issue. A lot of our addictions is a physical addiction, as well as, and it is also a mental addiction to certain things. I know Rodney said he was addicted to sugar, like most of us are. It is an addicting drug, so to speak. But yeah, no, it is, I just really felt like that was my push. My daughter was my push, and my doctor just kind of gave me an option. And I thought about it before, but I didn't want to do the classes. It was the classes at the other organization that I was going to do, a medical organization I was going to do it with. It was more of an obstacle. They made it more of an obstacle.
Okay.
The one that I'm doing now, the HMO that I'm with now, is made it a lot more easy to to navigate. And so that was another reason why it was another green light for me. So yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to, I want to stop you for a moment and share. You talked about, creating obstacles for you being able to make decisions to, for your health. I used to work for a organization and actually be over a bariatric medicine clinic. And we did have classes. We had a series of 12 classes. And some of those classes, there was embedded therapeutic, options and mental health services, because like you said, it is a mental thing as well. The surgery is going to guarantee that you lose the weight because, just by the means of what it does. But, you have to be mentally, in a good place and healthy for it to be successful and for you to be able to
Yep.
sustain, your new lifestyle. So I appreciate you saying that, we also need to factor in that being physically healthy, you can look one way, but you need to make sure that that goes hand in hand with your mental health. So I want to ask you, gentlemen, why are Black men so hesitant to access preventive health services?
I
To
know.
go get those regular checkups that
Yeah, yeah.
those of us in your lives that love you nag you about.
Yes, yes. Well, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, some of it is historical. I used to live out there with you guys. I'm out here in the South now, and I see a lot of things many things a little differently. But medical apartheid was a real thing. I mean, if you ever read that book, and some of the things that have happened to Black people in the medical industry, sometimes we're not taken seriously, and even our women, that some of the doctors feel that they have a higher threshold of pain than
Absolutely.
most others. So you get all those things. But from a Black male perspective, and I got to confess to you, I don't go to the doctor often. And really it's because I feel okay. I know I should get a checkup. I mean, just like my car should go and get that tune
Right.
up, I should do it. Uh, so a lot of times, again, I'm just speaking personally for me, it was just that because I felt good, I felt there was no need to go. But on the other hand, with the job that I do, I do have a hazmat portion to my license. So there's a certain aspect of my job where health comes into it, and my job sends me out to get checkups. So that kind of takes the place of what I do personally. But again, for me, it was just the thing where I felt good, so I didn't feel a need to go, but I know I should.
And I would agree with Rodney on that, but I think there's just, given the community that the population of students that I work with, I'm working with also a different um, group of people who have economically they struggle, and they may not have the HMOs and the healthcare that we have, and a lot of Black men do not. You have Black men that maybe coming out of incarceration. They might, they're not, that's the last thing they're thinking about. Black men have other worries in their lives that might take precedence over their health, especially like Rodney says, when you feel like when you're feeling right, you feel like you're fine, and you may not be, but you think you are. And it's just not, I have to work. I don't have time to take off and to go and to a clinic, or I have to go.
That's right.
You just don't think about it. Now, for someone like myself who has an HMO and who can go, I think it's just a mentality for men who is just you really just don't think about it. I mean, you really don't. For women, I think you guys have to have your mammograms. You have to go in for your pap smears. You have to go in for these different things. Uh, Men don't really have to until you turn, I think, 40 and 50. Then no one tells you have to go. You know what I'm saying? So you just go on through life and you just do what you do. So it's not a priority where as soon as like my daughter, she's gonna have to start going on a regular basis, do this, do that, do this, do that. But if I had a son, he wouldn't have to worry about that until he's 40 or 30 or 50 years old. So then now you're not mentally, that's not your routine. So you're not thinking about it that way.
Okay, thank you both, because you've allowed me to understand your perspective a little bit better. So, with that being said, since it's not something that, like you said, you have to go on a regular basis until you hit a certain age, so it's not normal to you in a sense. And then too, Riley, you mentioned medical trauma that has happened in our community. What can we do for our young males? How can we start encouraging them to get those preventative services early, or screenings early, and make it something that's adopted into their normal, I guess, routine?
That is a great question, a great question. And as Lamont was just talking, I was just thinking about something, even with my own son. I have sickle cell trait, and my son has sickle cell trait. And when I was growing up, I grew up in Compton, and I remember Drew Hospital gave me a call because from the military, when I was in the Marines, that's when I found out. And they had me go up there and they sat me down and said, Rodney, here's what it means when you have sickle cell trait. And they explained everything to me. So that put a bug in my ear, and it let me know things I could do, couldn't do, certain, deep sea diving and hiking and up in the mountains, your cells get sickle. So I communicated that to my son. I said, son, you have sickle cell trait. So here are the things you have to do. So I said, if you get with someone, you want to have a kid, you have to remember, because there's some women I couldn't rock with because they want to have kids, and you have sickle cell trait, I have sickle cell trait, and we don't want to bring a kid into the world with that unless we're going to adopt. So I let him know that. So the reason why I bring that up is just communication. If we're going to have our young people to go get a regular checkup, we have to let them know, well, here's why. And we have to present it to them as a preventative maintenance for yourself. So I'm not going because something's wrong, like Rodney. I need to go. So the doctor can say, you didn't know this, but you have so-and-so. I didn't know I had sickle cell trait. Now you know this, Rodney. Here's what you need to do. You need to have this medicine or whatever the case may be. And if you are planning on losing weight or losing fat, there's a difference between the two. You should consult your doctor because you need to know um, uh, certain things about yourself, and you could, find out your maintenance weight and all that good stuff we can go into later. But it's important. So my job now for my son was to communicate to him what problems he might have if he goes a certain course. And my daughter as well. My daughter doesn't have sickle cell trait, but her and my wife, between those two, they do the whole checkup because, like you say, like Lamont was talking about, uh, that's it. When it comes to women issues and when they gotta go, I say, hey, Hilma, take care of this with Caitlin. If I need to step in, I will, but you know what she needs for, all the things that come when you come of age and all those things. I'll take care of my son. We can all do it together, but I'll really focus in and pour into him. So, and that's what I have done on my side.
Yeah. But when, like I said, I work with a group of people, group of students and their families who are not, right? And so Rodney didn't know that he had the sickle cell trait until he was told by the military. Not all our kids are going to be able to be fortunate enough to get that communicated to them, so they will never know. So I think what schools are trying to do right now, and I do think it needs to, our school system needs to be involved, is that they're trying right now, and I guess we may touch on this later, but they're instituting wellness centers. I know our school has a wellness center in it, and it's not just the whether you get sick and stuff, it's also the mental wellness as well. So I think that component, and maybe building on that, and having doctors and stuff come in and on a regular basis and give free checkups to students and their families on the campus. Have especially have doctors there, or individuals that will volunteer that look like a lot of those students, to be able to really kind of share with them something that they can all relate to and have in common. I think those are some things that we need to get behind, and maybe even in some cases pressure our public schools to do. Our private schools, we should do the same, the best we can. That dynamic, as you all know, in our circle in California is a bit different, and so they don't always relate to minorities in that way. But in our public schools, where you have an abundance of our minorities who are disproportionately this and that, we can address it. And I think that as Black professionals, we should do a better job of supporting and pressuring and informing our public school systems on some of the needs that our community has, because they're not, it's going to take that. And I think a lot of times as middle class or upper middle class individuals, and I think as people, we just get in our own bubble, right? And if it doesn't affect our bubble, generally, we're not really thinking about too much outside of that bubble. Well, we need to start being a little more aware of what's going on around us outside of our bubble, and be more active than except from when there's something horrible happens.
Right.
We need to be proactive as opposed to reactive.
No, I think that that's a great point that you make. And I absolutely believe that we do need to use our voices and advocate for our children in the school system setting, because that's where they spend the majority of their time. So like you said, really making sure that the wellness centers are at most of the public school campuses, and that they are getting the preventative screens that they so need and desire, and offering it to their families as well, because you just don't want the children to be able to have access to it. You want their parents to be able to, access the care as well, and make sure that the family as a whole is healthy. So.
And in order for the family or the parents to feel comfortable with that whole process, to involve them. And then I sometimes think we don't do that enough, and education is involved, in the public school setting, involve the parents enough. And if they're involved and are part of it, they're bought in. And when they're bought in, they'll make sure that little Joey or or Susie, gets it done.
Well, I'm going to shift a little bit. I want to hear you guys' perspective on COVID-19 and how it's disproportionately affecting our communities. Please join us for part 2 on July 7th at 5 p.m. as we continue to discuss Black men's health. Come back and know the facts.